Hello my beautiful butterflies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beverley and it is lovely to see you today. In this video we're going to be having a sit down and a chitty chat about some thrifting tips if you want to have a vintage style wardrobe. So grab that cup of tea, let's do this. So the first thing I have to say is this is not for teeth in. So the first thing I have to say is this is not for if you want to thrift actual true vintage. Like true vintage is a whole other thing. But a lot of people, including myself, like to history bound. So this is when you wear modern day clothing in a vintage style. This is modern. I can't remember where it's from. I thrifted it, this top. And this like denim pinafore dress is modern. It's from Next, I think, originally, and I thrifted it a couple of days ago. Thrifting vintage means that you are going to save yourself a ton of money, and also it's a way of getting a really unique wardrobe and a style that's all your own, but that is going to also prevent that pieces of clothing from just ending up in the waste disposal. We are creating too much rubbish. There are too many of us. We need to protect this earth. Every month I do come and share the things that I've found over the month. I do have like a whole playlist of all my thrifting videos, so I'll leave a link to those down below. I often have people who leave on like comments saying, oh, this is amazing, I can't believe the things that you find. And it's because I put these things into place and made sure that I know what I'm looking for. So if you enjoy thrifting content and dressing vintage, as well as a little bit of disability awareness and some witchcraft, you are in the right place. And if you're new here, don't forget you can click the subscribe button to become part of the butterfly family. We would absolutely love to have you. Don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. But let's get to it, shall we? So the first thing that I'll say is research is your friend. If there is a period of time that you're really into, say like 1895 or 1963 or whatever, all you have to do is put in the year and just normal people. Put in people in 1963 or 1892 or whatever, and you'll get loads and loads of pictures come up in the image section in Google, and from there you can start to look at what actual everyday people wore, because everyday people dress differently to fashion magazines and fashion plates and things like that. I mean, we know it ourselves. If you look at like influencers and stylists and people like Kim Kardashian, etc., they don't dress like me. They don't dress like most of the people I know. And so going back in time, it's exactly the same. Everyday people do not wear what these people wear. So you want to be looking up pictures of just everyday people in your age range and have a look at what they wore. So this will give you a really good idea of what people in the everyday world would wear. And this is great because you can look at the style that people wore, the colours, you can look at the like the types of jackets they wore, or the length of the skirt, or you know, do they wear circle skirts like we think they did, or do they wear more A-line skirts or tight pencil skirts? And it gives you an idea so that you can start to think about the sorts of shapes that you're going to be looking at in the thrift shop. So that's your first place to go to. I love Google. Google Images is just one of my favourite places. Just sit and have a look through, especially old pictures. I just absolutely adore. Pinterest is another really great place. Very similar reasons. You can just find so many pictures that are going to help you to connect to what everyday people wore. Next up is to look up YouTubers like moi who share their thrift hauls. So you want to look up YouTubers who dress in the styles that you like and have a similar style to you, and look what they're wearing. What do they wear on every day? I mean, we all get up dressed up in our best to do a photo shoot, but what do they wear in their normal everyday? And a lot of the time, if you look at their thrift hauls, that'll give you a really good idea of the sort of things that they're looking for. And quite often thrift YouTubers will give you little tips and tricks as they go, like, oh, I found these trousers, and you'll find that if you look for wide length trousers or whatever. So watch YouTubers, thrift hauls, thrift with me's, that sort of thing. So you can start to get an idea of the sorts of things that you should be looking out for. Next up, you want to look at the clothes when you're in the shops. You've got an idea in your head now of the sorts of things that people wore back then. So say you're looking for a blouse. White blouses, they're really great. If you come across a white blouse, grab it and stick it in your cart because you're most likely going to wear it. Now, I'll talk about later about patterns and details, but vintage is... The everyday person didn't have a lot of money. It's not changed a lot from there to now. Like the everyday man didn't have a lot of money, and so a white blouse was kind of a staple. It was used as a layering item. You can get them short sleeved, long sleeved. I just thrifted like a pirate blouse that was bought out by Tesco, I think, which is a supermarket here in the UK. You'll find a lot of the time supermarket brands and brands in general, style doesn't change all that much and things will come in loops, and so you'll find there'll be seasons when you're like, there is nothing in the thrift shop for me, and that's rare for me. I'm going to be honest. Don't think that's ever really happened, if I'm going to be honest, but hey ho, you know. But if you're very specific about an era, then you might find sometimes, oh, I can't find anything that fits in my lane, but you'll find it comes back in. It's recycled. A lot of fashion nowadays is recycled. That's why I'm not a big fan of buying new. I like to buy things pre-loved because they will come back in. Look at the sleeves, look at the details, especially on white blouses. If it's got a lot of lacing, if it's got like needlework or embroidery on the collar, if it's got some like cute details up the sleeves, if the sleeves are like bell style or if they're bishop sleeves, things like that. Look up these things. Look up different styles of sleeves that were available in 1983 or whatever you're interested in, and start looking at these things and finding sleeves that are a certain style. They do come back in, and quite often I'll pick up a blouse, and if I put it on, under a dress or something, you wouldn't know that it was a modern day dress or a modern day top, because you've instantly given that vintage look like this. Look at skirts. Now, for me personally, because I like to dabble in lots of different years, like I would love to get into like medieval and stuff like that, but that's going to come in later when I'm better at sewing, which I have started. I do have a sewing video on here. I do have a couple of sewing videos, so I'll leave links to that down below as well. So there's lots of things to keep you interested here. But but I definitely feel like when you're looking at a particular era, you'll see that certain styles of skirt are in fashion. Like, I love, my favorite eras like 20s, 30s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Like, they're my favorites, and I find that I can look at a modern day skirt and be like, oh, I could put together, a 1920s look, or I could put together an 80s look, because I know the style skirt. So it might be an A-line skirt, or it could be like a kilt kind of skirt, or a long skirt, a mini skirt if you're into the 60s. Start looking at the type of things that were available, and you'll notice that they come up quite a lot. Like circle skirts, A-line skirts, pencil skirts, they're still in fashion now, and they were in fashion in the 50s. It's just all about the pattern on the fabric. It's all about the cut, how long they are, and you'll start to notice and start to develop your own style by just looking and making sure that you're going back to your research. I will say this, and I know I talk about Pinterest a lot on here, and people think, oh my goodness, only 45-year-old housewives really use Pinterest, but it's not true. Pinterest is great for being able to save stuff, and you're not taking up space on your computer, and as long as you've got the app and you're signed in on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, you can save things wherever you are and take it with you when you go shopping. So, for example, I have like a thrifting wish list it's a board of things that I would love to find on my travels thrifting. But I also have vintage pictures. So it'll just be pictures that I like that are vintage. And I will quite often go through that before going thrifting and just be like, oh yeah, I want to look for a blouse that looks a bit like that, or a skirt that's a little bit like that, or oh yeah, they wore jumpers like that, I want to look out for jumpers like that. It's all about going back to your research. It's the same with witchcraft. I find vintage is very similar. I don't know what's going on, but I love research, and I have memory issues, so finding things and saving them in Pinterest is a godsend for me. So if you struggle remembering, like, oh, when I'm trying to put together a 60s look, I need this sort of skirt, or this thing missing out of my wardrobe, you can save it into Pinterest board, and then you can easily look it up later when you're out thrifting. All these things are really important when you're looking, because sleeve details, skirt styles, they can then be put into dresses. You can use shirts as layering items. So if the front doesn't exactly look vintage, you can get like a dress that's got a high top and just have the sleeves out. I quite often do that. So it's just thinking outside the box, and you'll find as time goes on, you'll get even better at it. I know if you watch my earlier thrift hauls, I'm not quite as good at finding vintage that actually works for me. And a lot of the time I would then end up never wearing it and taking it back to the charity shop. But now I tend to like keep and wear things multiple times, because you do get better at it. The more you get to recognize, oh, A-line skirts are what I really enjoy wearing, or I hate circle skirts. Circle skirts for me are my favorite. They're the most comfortable for me because I do have a small waist. In comparison to my hips, I'm very hippie, and because of that, circle skirts are the most flattering on me. I can wear pencil skirt, but I feel uncomfortable in it because it's always too tight on my hips if it fits my stomach, and if it fits my hips, it's gaping on my stomach, and so I find that I don't really wear them as consistently. And you start to realize, you know what, when I buy a pencil skirt, I don't wear it, and so you don't buy them anymore. But going back to your research, you'll start to see what you like in certain outfits, what you don't like, and you'll start to put together a wardrobe that only you have. Nobody else dresses like me. Like when you look through my Instagram, even though I'm vintage, so is Rachel Maxey, so is my friend Hayley, so is my other friends. But when you look through our Instagrams, we all look incredibly different. Our styles are incredibly different. And it's because when you're thrifting or when you're making it yourself, you can really just lean into what makes you happy. And that's the thing, you'll start in time realizing what you actually enjoy wearing, and it might not always be the pictures that you look at and think, I want to wear that. Because I love the 1910s, 1920s. That's, to me, I look at those and I'm just like, oh, I love that dress. I love that. Like when I'm looking at films or TV shows, that's what I love. When I wear it, I don't feel cute in it because it wasn't made for really curvy women like me. Those fashions are better on really thin, straight up and down, kind of more boyish figures, and I definitely do not have that. So you have to find what suits you, what looks the cutest on you, and what makes you feel the most comfortable. Lastly, I do want to talk about patterns and details, because quite often when you look at a particular period, you know it because of the little details that are included. Like this top makes me feel very like 50s and a bit rockabilly, because it has this bit, I don't even know if you can see it in comparison to my dark blue denim, but it has this like massive black bow on it, and it's black and white striped. So it makes me feel like it's very nautical, even though it's not designed to be nautical. It's not vintage or trying to be vintage. It's just a t-shirt with a bow on it that somebody bought once and didn't like it and took it down to the charity shop, and I was like, I'll have that. It's finding those little details that go with the decade that you enjoy, and those are the things that will set you apart and will really show up that historical accuracy, thank you brain, of the outfit. So for example, if I dressed Victorian every day, like Bernadette Banner dresses as Victorian every day, and her hair is extremely long, and she does this beautiful like Gibson girl hairstyle every day. I'm not good at doing hairstyles, which is why I had my hair permed, and now it's just this every day, and I love it, and I think it looks really cute. It's very 80s, 90s. I don't care though. That detail doesn't bother me because I'm all for history banding, not looking like I'm from that decade. But there are some vintage girls that I follow that look like they've just been picked up and plonked down in the modern age, and they're like, what am I doing here? Like Bernadette Banner. And there's another girl that I follow she's in Scotland, and oh my goodness, I cannot remember her name. Cat's Costumery. Haha, my brain is on fire. Yeah, she always looks like she could just be plonked out of the past. You have to find what you want to be doing. Don't be scared. If you want to walk around looking like a Victorian woman in mourning every day, do it. Who cares? If you're happy, then do it. Who are you harming? Nobody. Just do your research, look at the patterns of the time. I mean, for example, you're not going to make a Victorian dress out of fabric from the 1960s because it would look insane. Like, you're not going to have mad orange paisley. That could be fun though, couldn't it? Don't put these thoughts in my head, people. I see you. But yeah, you wouldn't do that necessarily because the two don't go. You're going to pick heavy woolens in natural colours, and if you're making a mini skirt, you're going to pick paisley in orange and brown, and that's just the way it is. It's those little details like fabrics and the little lacings in certain places and the collar details. Those are the things that will set you apart and will make you really feel like you're wearing clothes of that time. And it all comes down to thrifting. And because styles keep coming in and out in waves, you will find that styles will come back in. So you can go shopping for your dinner and find the perfect dress to fit your 1965 wardrobe. And it has no rhyme or reason to it. You don't know when the style's going to come back in, so you just have to kind of get everything when it's there. And I generally find that if something's in fashion, give it a couple of months and it'll be in the charity shops for a fraction of the cost. And that's why I'm glad that I don't dress following fashions, because I couldn't afford it anyway. I mean, how do people keep buying new clothes and not wearing it and then just chucking it out to the charity shop? And believe you me, you, I used to be that girl as well. I think it's just the way we are in the Western Hemisphere. I haven't recorded for a while and you can tell. My goodness. Oh, in Western society, we are definitely like, you buy what you want, spend money and then throw it out. And when you start dressing vintage, you start realising that you don't have to do that anymore, because, you know, if you've bought a top that looks like it's from 1893, you can keep it forever. You can sew it up and stitch a little bit and fix it up and it will still work perfectly fine. And so I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you got something out of it, and I hope that it will help you. And if you already thrift with having a vintage wardrobe in mind, definitely let me know down below what your favourite tips are. What do you look for? What's the main things that you think people need to bear in mind, especially if I've missed it here. Don't forget to check out the description. I will leave links to all the people I've mentioned. All the information will be down below, as well as links to any playlists to do with this. I'm exhausted now, so I'm going to head off. Don't forget to leave me a like, comment, subscribe, ring that little bell so you always know when I upload. I'm usually here Mondays and Fridays, and I'm hoping to get back to that. I really am. I'm sorry. It's just life. Take care, everyone. Try your best to get some comfort, do lots of self-care, look after yourselves, go to a charity shop and treat yourselves. And I will see you next time. Bye.